So I've got Rich Holder here of the Dalheim Wine Farm. Rich, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Doing fantastic and great being here.
Thank you. And look, we told you about the dessert that we're making, and we asked you to bring along some wines. Do you mind telling us about them?
Oh, sure. I brought you two wines. I think we'll start with the Dalheim Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer is I think it's a wine made for sommeliers and chefs. Pairs well with dishes, but it's difficult to order from a menu. I think a lot of guys sitting next to a girl won't order it because they can't pronounce it.
Can't pronounce it.
So the term Gewürztraminer, or Gewürz actually, means spice, or the spicy one. And flavors of rose petal, orange peel, lemon zest, those are probably the most describing flavors on it. Some people would call it Turkish delight. Wine is made in a semi-sweet style, and with a nice high acidity, in the German style, if I can say it like that. And it really cuts through the sugar on the wine. It actually tastes much drier than it really is.
Yeah, but you know, it's not a wine. Well, maybe it's something I'll order on a wine list because I know it. But I know a lot of my friends would probably not even know, or you know. But that's where a sommelier is probably important.
Very
isn't
important. I mean, we can really see it in restaurants where you've got someone educated going up to a table and telling them this really pairs well with a dish because it really complements a lot of variety of foods, especially when it becomes spicy or even the sweeter stuff. And especially like something like that you made today picks up on those really nice spices.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes to sweet, you know, especially desserts and pairing a wine with a dessert. You know, I've always found it interesting where you have something that's quite sweet, and then you have a dessert wine that's also equally sweet. But I've known the Dalheim wines for quite some time, you know, and especially, I mean, for me, Gewürztraminer now with this dessert is actually goes well with it. I love the acidity. But it doesn't sort of like kill the dessert either.
I think if it's sweetness on sweetness, it almost fights with each other. And a wine like that we'll just have, that's more for like almost cheese for dessert.
Yes.
Or dessert on its own.
Rich, but you're much more known for the following wine, aren't you?
Yeah, the E05 I think is our most accoladed wine. It's a wine that has a long history with Dalheim and actually had a very funny start. Nobelate harvest is a process where there's actually a small fungus growing on the outside of the grapes. And way back there was not that much knowledge in the industry. And old Spatz actually had to call back to Germany and ask, what are we going to do with these grapes? There's rot all over, and they described the type of rot on it. And the guy on the German side told him, listen, this stuff is fantastic. You must make wine from this. And all the farm workers thought he was crazy, and they took it to the cellar, and then the sweet nectar came out. So that's the Dalheim E05.
Talk about a little bit more about noble rot. I mean,
well, noble rot, it's a really the process is noble. So you firstly need the exact, let's say, natural conditions, and you need. So it's a few factors. There's obviously your microclimate in your vineyard. You need a certain type of humidity, and that's not something that you can copy. People have tried copying it, so if it occurs naturally or not. So in some years we would make of this bottle 3,000 bottles, and the next year 6,000 bottles. But it's not something that we can really produce commercially.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the beauty.
So because you can't recreate that
You can't recreate
those conditions every year.
So for instance, the 2014 that we're having tonight was actually a great vintage, and we actually had about 8,000 bottles out of this. So much sweeter than the previous one. Just to give you an idea, that was about 12 grams of sugar per liter, and this is about 190 grams. Much higher acidity. And made in a German style. So when I'm saying German style, the French makes sweet wines in a higher alcohol state. So their sweet wines would end up with a 14.5% alcohol, where ours is about 10.5 to 11%. So it's really something that's great for desserts, for ending off a meal, or like you said earlier, as going for a starter.
Let's talk about Delham, the farm. Been around for,
For a lot of people, forever.
Exactly.
I think it was a lot of people's first encounter on university as well, to the wine world. Actually started out in the 40s, and then Michael Hans Spatz, or Spatz Sperling, actually only came in the 50s because of the World War II. And they actually started the winery up, and I think in the early 60s the first one was actually released. And from there it just built from strength to strength. But being an old farm, we've got nice old vineyards, and we've got a big variety of cultivars. So you get from the sweet wines that we make, from, let's say, easier lifestyle drinking wines, to big, bold wines as well.
And Rich, how long have you been on the farming?
Yes, it feels very short, but I've been there now for 4 years. Very, very exciting 4 years, and we've really trying to take the wines to a complete next level. I always say it's good to measure yourself to your neighbours, but you actually have to measure yourself in the world, and that's what we're hoping for. And probably the most successful one that we're coming out of the cellar is probably the Edelspatz at this stage.
And as a winemaker, do you have to taste a lot of wines from elsewhere, whether it's a lot of local wines or international wines?
Yeah, it's fantastic to just taste different wines and like, again, not compare them, but to just realize what guys are doing, differences between Stellenbosch and the Swartland, or Stellenbosch and the coastal vineyards, and then equally important the international wines, to really benchmark yourself towards the international markets. We just top you up there. We export about 60% of production, so it's important to see where you're in that market, to really compete on a quality level, and to see where the styles are going, because it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
I presume so in food as well.
And a little bit more about you. I know you like cycling. Are you also one of those winemakers that's into surfing, or is it a bit too far from the sea?
I would like to learn. I actually grew up in the West Coast, but more of a crayfish diver than a surfer at this stage.
I must get your number then.
Yeah, you can take it afterwards.
But listen, I really, I maybe gave you an indication of the one that I might have liked more earlier on, but this Edelspatz is just an amazing Noble 8 harvest.
Yeah, we're very proud of it. And
so Rich, what do you think?
Well, I love the dish. For me, it actually picks up on both the wines for different reasons. You're the expert.
It's interesting, because I would go, if I would take 2-3 bites, the Edelspatz would be my favorite.
I would agree on that. Yeah.
The Gewürztraminer, I can have that as a drinking wine as well, actually. It's a great food wine, but I think, my choice would be the Edelspatz, for sure.
Definitely. I'm quite amazed. Normally, there's very few desserts that really pair well with the Edelspatz, and there's just the right balance in terms of sweetness, and the acidity from the mango just picks up beautifully on the wine.
So listen, thanks. I know you're quite a busy guy, and I appreciate that you made some time to come and see us and to bring some of your lovely wine. So I hope I'll see you around on the farm sometime.
Oh, great being here.
Thank you very much.